me. We're going to be talking about diabetes today, and that's a huge topic. I'm not saying that we're doing anything medical. We're talking about natural ideas for using the WAVwatch and helping to improve your lifestyle with some of the 850 different frequencies that are there. So hopefully that will make sense to everybody. And I'm trying to do two things at once, let people in. And so we're gathering up steam here as people come on. So I really appreciate you attending and being here today so much. The WAVwatch is gaining steam, just like I mentioned just a minute ago, use that phrasing, and people are getting more and more excited about it as we learn that so many things have changed in our natural health care field, that there's so many more things that we could do rather than just be depending on prescriptions and over-the-counter medication. We're all starting to pay attention to our foods, to natural ideas, to our exercise, and the list goes on and on. So we're still gathering up a few, but I think I'm ready to go ahead and start with my presentation. And I see Libby came on. And so Libby, I'm going to kind of point you, let me know if you can't hear me, just unmute yourself and let me know. So other than that, we're changing screens and getting to work on learning, talking about diabetes a little bit and connections. So
I can hear you just fine, Linda.
perfect.
You're doing good.
Isn't it fun to always learn how to do something different? Okay. So here we go. So just a little bit of a side business out of the way. Don't forget that we are live on Facebook, WAVwatch Frequency Fanatics. So you can always go back and watch these presentations if that's of interest to you, or, you know, take a snapshot right quick as we go along for some information that might be new to you, or that you can share this with others who may be interested or possibly looking at buying the WAVwatch. Now, one of the most important things that people are always asking me is like how you wear the WAVwatch. And several people held their WAVwatch up today as they came on. That was so fun. Thank you for that. And so you're going to wear it more on your left hand, even if you are left-handed, because what they've learned, you know, we don't know the exact time, but basically thousands of years ago, they learned that we shared energy through our right hand and we actually absorbed energy through our left hand. So that's why you want to wear it on your left hand. And it doesn't seem to matter if it's kind of moving around on your wrist. That's okay. It doesn't have to be solid, because frequencies are absorbed through all of your skin and all of your bones. They just zip through your body, basically through the water content and other ideas, and 4.3 times faster than the speed of sound is what I'm reading. I'm not saying I'm a scientific, physicist or anything like that, but that's what I was reading. Also, I have at this point in time over 850 frequency sets, and they're basically like a song. Now, sometimes you'll see phrasing like we're going to be seeing today, diabetes 1, and another one says diabetes. There might be some others that say like parasites. I think it says 1, 2, 3, 4. What does that mean? That basically means it's a different sound. It's a different song. So there were some different measurements by some different organizations that measured frequencies, or some different companies. And so those are differentiated just with a number, if that's basically all it is. Or it would be like, listening to a Frank Sinatra song and somebody else took that same song and put their spin on it, just a little bit different frequency. So you can make your own playlists, obviously, and that's important for you to be able to do, but I try to make major playlists for you. And I think the most important idea, see if I can move this some way. I think the most important idea is like for Lyme disease. One lady made a playlist and she really did a good job, but she told me that she had many things in her playlist and she was worried about Lyme disease. And I said, well, did you get your all the ideas for Lyme disease? And she said, yeah, I put Lyme disease in my playbook. And I'm going, wait, there's 22 ideas for Lyme disease. And so I've saved you learning all of the co-infections and going through my list of, the whole 850 ideas. I have already made that playlist for you. I've already done it. So that's hopefully the simplicity of the idea. So to go ahead, there are several diabetic symptoms, obviously. Some people may not even realize that they're starting to become diabetic. So we're having some hunger feelings all the time, blurry vision, high blood sugar, lots of thirstiness, tingling limbs, frequent urination. So all of those ideas could let us know that we are starting to become pre-diabetic or possibly type 2. And as people, sometimes we don't pay enough attention to that. So there is a few ideas that we should tuck in the back of our mind, and we need to be educating ourselves or thinking about this for other people around us. Now, none of us are doctors necessarily. There's a few that are coming on that are doctors, but we just need to be educating ourselves. That's something that we haven't necessarily done. And some of it is a little bit common sense. So anyway, these are some basic ideas, some diabetic symptoms. And how important is this? It's beyond important because we are seeing that more than 37 million US adults have diabetes. And 1 in 5 of them don't even know they have it. So it's the 7th leading cause of death. Diabetes is the #1 cause of kidney failure, amputations, adult blindness, and the list goes on. And then they're also saying in the last 20 years, the number of adults has more than doubled that have diabetes. Now, I don't even see any statistics. Maybe I didn't dig deep enough for children. So we are having so many more of our younger children coming up with diabetic symptoms. And, we're all sitting there going, oh, that's not hard to figure out. Our food. We are definitely having trouble with our food supply and knowing, what that is. So it is very important to actually realize that so many of us and our children, it doesn't matter the age, are becoming more and more prone to diabetes. It's a huge statistic. So I think I was a little distraught on the numbers that we have for diabetes coming up. Now, 5 to 10% of people have type 1 diabetes, and they actually are still saying that they don't know how to prevent type 1 diabetes. You're born with it. It's usually diagnosed at a younger age. And those people and young children usually need to take insulin every day. And again, there's currently no prevention ideas on that. So we're not going to be talking a lot about that. I haven't figured out any cures. I don't think anybody else has either. But we can concentrate on the type 2 diabetes. And that's where we're seeing most of the problems today. And again, that's because a little bit more of our problems with our food, lack of nutrition, the drinks that we're drinking, the list goes on and on. So about 90 to 95% of the people are actually having, there we go, problems with type 2 diabetes. And this comes from the CDC itself. And I know some of you, if you're like me, you're kind of wondering all about the CDC and how accurate their statistics are, but at least you're able to get some basic ideas of how severe the problem is on diabetes. So there's a third kind of diabetes, and it's gestational diabetes. And usually it's pregnant women who've never had it, but this does make the baby at higher risk for health problems. And the baby's more likely to develop obesity or type 2 diabetes later. So again, very important information for pregnant women to try to do their best to make sure their diet's cleaned up and that kind of thing. So here's what we have on the WAVwatch. And I always see, wow, there's a few more ideas maybe I could add. So maybe in later versions, there might be a few more just tiny ideas pop up, but I think we have it covered pretty well. So I've already given you the information that we have a diabetes 1 and then another one labeled diabetes. And so those are just different frequencies for the same idea. So if you were to open this folder and you had diabetes, I would suggest that you play through all of these and see how your body reacts, see if you notice anything, see if you have, a little tingling or you feel something somewhere, and then try to touch your watch for about a second. I have a hard time kind of showing it to you on the screen here, but touch your watch for about a second to have it come back on so that the screen will light up and you can see what is playing. Then, if your body has reacted to that particular problem, I would take that one and loop it through more than one time and work with it that way. Now, people are always asking me, well, how long should I loop it? I'm sorry, I don't know. It's really hard. Everybody's a little bit different, but it does make a difference if you feel something and you can loop it through. And don't forget, the directions for how to loop it are right here on this second page, the inside page. And so basically there's 3 different ways that you can work with a frequency. You can loop it all day long, all night long if you want to. You can just run it for one time and then the watch shuts off. Or you can run everything that's in this playlist by setting double arrows that go to the right on the screen. So I know that's kind of hard to just be phrasing it, but I think you got the idea there. So that would be a starting point. Now you can also run the pancreas. And on this particular one, I have combo set up. So when it says combo in any phrasing, it might say parasite combo. You might have seen that one. It might say coronavirus combo on some of them. But just the word combo should alert you to the fact that I tried to make it easier for you to loop all of the ideas. And so if you play pancreas combo, you are actually getting every single idea 2 from 8, and you can loop it through your on your watch by setting the 1 with double arrows looping around that. Now, I think that's kind of important to be able to loop something. And I discovered something on myself that I'll just share with you. But I have been traveling quite a bit, and I was having so much allergies and all kinds of symptoms and coughing and, blowing my nose and sneezing for an hour in the morning. And for some reason, I put it on vagus nerve and played that all night long. And that completely took care of those problems. And so that was just one idea that I looped all night long. And so, that was an 8-hour loop, basically. And people say, oh, is that dangerous? I do not think it is. I don't have a verified medical idea on that, but just to let you know that we listen to sound all night long. That's why the watch is so safe, because these are sound frequencies. So if your body does not need or does not like that particular frequency, it's just going to go all the way through your body, and it will not combine with any other frequencies that are resonant, that are the same frequencies. It doesn't combine with them because that frequency isn't in your body. But if you happen to have, a good example is a parasite, and it has a frequency, and then you put in the matching frequency, a resonant frequency, and they meet, they're going to self-amplify and then just self-amplify and fall apart, maybe is a way to say that. So again, I do not feel that you would be hurt if you play something all night long, but we have millions of people and there are always going to be some exceptions. So you were making your own self-care decisions. Let me see, got a chat here. Let me see what I got. Okay, somebody says they have no sound. Ragnar has no sound. I'm assuming everybody else can hear me, but try that again. And
Linda, I
yes,
can hear you just fine. Sometimes if people don't have sound, they may have turned their sound off on their computer itself. So they need to up their sound volume on their computer, or maybe they've muted their computer and they need to unmute that computer.
perfect. I love having you on, Libby. You're my help. Thank you. And for all those who don't know, Libby works with me in Springfield, Missouri. I'm in the Kansas City area. And Libby and I both have companies called Bras Thermography. And so that's a good thing to look her up, to look me up if you're in these areas and other areas of the US, because we specifically work with breast health. So anyway, but back to diabetes. So these are some specific frequencies on the WAVwatch. And I have had some people tell me that their blood sugar numbers have changed. Unfortunately, I don't have any of the numbers or a written testimony. I think it was all verbal. And I don't want to be, pressing the saying I have a testimony when I don't have a written form on it. But please let me know if you've changed. I love videos when people send those. I love texts, and I love written emails, if that's anything that you could do if you have a testimony.
Linda,
Now, yes,
could you put that previous screen up for just a second?
I certainly can.
Thank you. Okay.
There you go. Need a picture of that, Vicki?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So feel free to jump in if you need a question or you need me to stop a little bit. Another thing that we have trouble with when we have diabetes is our wounds, and puncture wounds can become very problematic. We're not healing very well. And I looked for some images of, diabetic toe problems, and it's over the top, really, really hard to see some of those images. So if you think you're close to being pre-diabetic, and probably a lot of us are, because of our food chain and our lifestyles. So I would run those frequencies just for protection once in a while, try to prevent. And of course, I can't make any claims and saying that something's going on and that the WAVwatch would prevent it. You are in charge of your own self-care. So we do have specific frequencies that are labeled healing and regeneration. The inflammation, pain, and trauma is the very first one on the WAVwatch. I think that is the most important one. We also have a frequency for regeneration and healing, a little bit different than the one up above. We have a frequency for wounds healing and injuries, and wounds penetrating. But if you're having any kinds of problems, get to work on something, because these can get out of hand very, very quickly if you are diabetic. So here's just a little bit more information. Diabetes causes major wound healing problems. So they can become high risk for infections and amputations. And so you're protecting yourself just by wearing something around and trying to do something with it. And of course, we're going to talk a little bit about food and things like that. But I think most people are aware of some of those ideas that are on this program. So we're mostly emphasizing the WAVwatch. Now, we also have trouble with our eyes when we have diabetes problems. So the major problems are diabetic retinopathy. And I am apologizing. I see I didn't have a code for that. I don't know if I can find one, but we definitely have all kinds of codes for cataracts and glaucoma. And so these are the frequencies on the right side. We have the cataracts, we have conjunctivitis, we have eye abnormalities, eye disorders, eye infection, glaucoma, and visual acuity. So definitely be working with those eye frequencies also if you know that you are a diabetic, or if you are beginning to suspicion just from looking at some of those symptoms that people with prediabetes might be having. And then, of course, you're going to make your own decisions about going to your doctor and getting diagnosed and updating your health, and you're in charge. That's what WAVwatch is about. You're in charge, but make sure you don't avoid medical if that's necessary. Now, I ended up just finding this picture that is a drawing of the different stages of how our wounds, or wounds or problems or toe lesions, that kind of thing. And then I actually saw real pictures of every one of these stages, and I just couldn't show it to you. And if you need to look that up, great, just look up images of diabetic toe neuropathy, and you will see that people are losing their toes, they're losing half of their foot, the infection is going up the leg, and part of the leg is gone or oozing. And it was very hard for me to see. And so I can't imagine what somebody's going through who actually has this problem. So be very, very careful that you are taking steps if you have any concern that you might be becoming, diabetic. It's huge to make sure that you are trying to prevent something. All you have to do is look at those images, and it will shock you enough that you should start to work if you've got any questions at all. So we also have this pancreas idea. And again, I've already kind of explained that you can loop them all together. And then in this image, I just wanted to show you where the pancreas was. And this is where all of our problems come from, the insulin connection with this. So huge to work with your pancreas also. Now, when you're having pancreas problems, you might have some abdominal pain, some abdominal swelling. You might have some back pain. You might have a rapid heartbeat, pain that gets worse after you eat, diarrhea, nausea, and vomiting. So these are some pancreas symptoms. So get right to work on that. Make sure you check with your medical professional. Go to a homeopathic. Do your own research. Get busy, whatever you need to do. Things can multiply very quickly with pancreas problems. So many people have pancreatitis, and I was surprised to see how many connections there are with pancreatitis. So gallstones can cause the pancreatitis. So you could play gallstones. So some of this is just thinking through. It's like, oh yeah, the WAVwatch has frequencies for gallstones. There are also recipes online, and I have handed those out to people before, where you drink some olive oil and some grapefruit juice and work with gallstones in that manner. But I have had a couple people say that they really were able to experience a lot of green little marble-sized chunks coming out of their system after using the WAVwatch. You can also play parasites, because we have a couple of parasites that are connected with pancreatitis and pancreas problems. So we've got the ascaris one, and we have the other one, the chlorocourse. I didn't say that one right. Sometimes I have to, there we go. So Glenorchis. So basically, we do have parasites connected with pancreatitis. So that's something that you should be running at least once every 2 weeks or so. It's kind of hard to say whenever you can remember it, but we're always reconnecting with parasites. We think maybe we've gotten parasites out of our system. Maybe we've done a lot of connections with some herbals and some natural ideas. But we've also worn the WAVwatch, but you have to keep doing it because we are exposed. You know, we go to somebody's house and the dog licks us on the face. We could get a parasite, or maybe they have cats in their home and maybe we didn't even touch the cats, but the cat was on the couch. And so you can literally pick up things in many, many different ways. We also have some viral infections associated with pancreatitis. Those are a little bit rare, but it's not going to hurt you if you're having pancreas problems to play through the viruses, many, many different causes. Now, sadly, on the other column, some of our medications can cause pancreatitis. So some of the immunosuppressants, some estrogens, diuretics, and whatnot can actually cause pancreatitis. A little sad, isn't it? Okay. We could also have lipid problems that could cause that. Of course, the infections have kind of already been covered with parasites and the viral infections. Sometimes we have surgeries that can cause pancreatitis, another sad note. And we can also have trauma from an accident of some kind that could accelerate and cause pancreatitis. But these are so connected, and then things get worse and worse and worse. And our, diabetes, maybe we didn't even have it, and all of a sudden we have pancreatitis. And then our diabetes kicks in, which we hadn't had before. So you never know the exact stream of how something, goes into play and what starts what. Our body is so intimately connected. So that's why I'm saying some of these things could be looped around. So again, here's our connections: the pancreas, the liver, and the spleen. And so they're all working together, and connected together, and problematic together sometimes. So I do owe you another apology. I have not put any frequencies for the spleen on there. I have not seen those or missed them or something. And wow, we're already up to 850 plus frequencies, but I'll see if I can dig just a little bit deeper and see if we can maybe get some TF cards updated for you. That might be workable if that's of interest to you. So because of that liver connection with the pancreas, they go hand in hand. The liver carries bile and the pancreas carries pancreatic juices, obviously. And so if our liver is messed up, it's not going to be supporting our pancreas. And if we've had our gallbladder out, then the liver has to start doing the work of the gallbladder. So the poor liver today is so overworked. It is supposedly doing about 500 jobs every day. And then if it has to start doing the work of the gallbladder, or if the pancreas starts having trouble, if we're eating a lot, taking a lot of hormones that are affecting our liver, you can just imagine how much problems that we could be having that could, in fact, roll around, and all of a sudden you're having diabetic problems. So do play the liver and all the detox ideas for actually keeping care of your pancreas, which is connected to diabetes. Our body's all connected. And so it doesn't hurt if we keep working with some of these frequencies when it's not exactly what is labeled. Yes, I would love it if the frequency for diabetes took care of everything. But you've got to dig just a little bit deeper probably and make sure you're playing the pancreas and the liver frequencies also. And that would be very, very helpful. Now, if you've got liver problems, you've got some jaundice, maybe some dark colored urine, pale colored bowel movements, fatigue, loss of appetite. And I know you can read these, but still I want you to hear unintentional weight loss, swollen abdomen, stomach pain, nausea, vomiting, swollen hands and feet. So we're all trying to prevent. So make sure that you are working with your liver just to protect your whole body. It's huge how many connections there are. And again, I've already mentioned there's 500 jobs that the liver does. So we want to play this one once in a while anyway. And now we're connecting it back to diabetes and the pancreas. Now, one more idea, and I've talked about this several times, so I know we're kind of going over the top, but some people are new and might not have seen this. But we have so many connections with our teeth and any kind of a health problem. So one of these that we're talking about today is our pancreas. So people can have a dental infection and all of a sudden, voila, they have pancreas trouble or they become diabetic. And it's basically from a tooth putting toxins into that organ system. So if you are in Europe, you're probably a little bit more educated about the toxic dental materials and the root canals that are actually being removed for cancerous reasons, but they are also problematic in just our health. So this is one of my thermography pictures. And I think you can see right here, the green area is the person's chin. And all of the red is just a dental infection. And then you can see it flow on down through the body. So we definitely have inflammation caused by the dental problems. Now, in some of my images, we can see that flow continue on down and go right down through the chest and right to a woman's breast, and they might have a breast lump. So there are 8 teeth connected with breast cancer. But what I really wanted to show you today was that we have teeth that are definitely associated with the pancreas. So T2, which is the second molar, the right upper, is connected to our breast on the right side. It's also connected to the pancreas, plus all the other ideas that you see. And then the one right beside it, T3, is also connected to the pancreas. So I wanted to make sure that you could see that. And if you haven't seen the meridian pathway flows of teeth through your body, this is a great area to look up. It's a meridian tooth chart. And so I just showed you, 2 examples. We also have 2 teeth on the left side that would be flowing into the pancreas. So this is just an example of what 2 different teeth, how they can flow through so many areas and be causing connections with our health of all kinds. It's huge. Huge, huge, huge. So if you don't get any information, start to think about, oh, I got to take better care of my teeth because it can affect my pancreas. It might be affecting my pancreas already. So I'm going to flip to the next screen. And I'm not sure I actually put on here that you needed to play the dental ones. Let me see where I'm at. One more idea. Part of the reason why we have so much trouble with our teeth is that because every tooth has a maze of these tiny tubules, which they're calling accessory canals, which would extend for 3 miles. They're 2 to 3 miles. Dr. Mercola says that. Weston Price says that. The list goes on, and they've actually identified and named about 75 different canals in a single tooth, and so people that are searching for them, a lot of them, that's what they get named after, that particular little tiny tubule that's going on in a tooth. But seriously, there are miles of connections, and that's why we have such toxicity throughout our body. And I tried to show that to you with this one right here, just an example of T2 and T3. And if you go to this site, you can see all of the teeth and every single place that it might be related to problems. So it's huge. And ladies, just a little clue, and everybody else also, our mammograms do not show this. So I know a medical doctor. Excuse me, I said that wrong, doing two things at once. I know a chiropractor, and his wife had died of breast cancer. And I was showing him my chart about the teeth, and he goes, yeah. He says, I tell everybody my wife died from, I think I've said that wrong. My wife died from dental cancer. She didn't die from breast cancer. Back that up just a little bit. And his example was that she had already started chemo and radiation. So she'd done all of those tests that you could think of before that was started for her breast. And nothing was said or concern about teeth. And then she went to get her teeth cleaned. There was nothing going on. She just went to get them cleaned. And he said, how is it possible that her that pus hit the ceiling with force and also squirted out and hit the technician's shield? So a tooth that was not seen on any medical device was definitely polluted. And he told me which tooth it was. And he said that was one of the ones that drained right down into her breast. So how many years had this been going on? So it's the same thing with the pancreas. It's the same thing with the thyroid. It's the same thing with your hips. You can be getting toxins all over your body from a single tooth. So please do be very, very careful about this. And again, to back this up, this is because we know that there are 2 to 3 miles of roots in a maze, which is very amazing. So what I didn't put on here was my chart for dental. And there are 9 different ideas. So you're going to go to pain, and then you're going to be playing through the dental concerns. So you would be playing dental general, dental infections and earaches, dental 1, dental 2, gingivitis, and play through all of those. Now, those are about 30-minute segments. And so if you play that at night, you're going to have about 4.5 hours of dental that's all there for you. And that's a really good thing to do. Again, just prevention, because of all of these connections all over our whole body. So I know I've covered this before, but covering it so that everybody, it sticks in your mind and you just work with it. And you don't have to go far. Another example, I had a classmate, and he went to have his teeth cleaned, and 2 or 3 days later, he was in a coma in the hospital. Even the medical community said that those toxins that were loosened when he had his teeth cleaned put him in that coma. So his whole life was in shambles for months and months because of a tooth cleaning. So please be very careful with what you do with your teeth. Now to just kind of look just at a couple more ideas. I'm almost done talking. I bet you're celebrating on that one. But basically, we've got to be, all of us kind of know, we've got to try to get our healthiest diet that we can. We need some physical activity. We need stress reduction. And of course, I can give you all the charts on stress reduction and things that we need to do very, very easily. We need to watch our body weight, avoid tobacco, and the list could go on and on. But these were some of the major ideas that I saw on several sites for preventing or slowing the onset of diabetes or number 2. You'll also maybe want to look for some good supplements. Now, to me, the major thing is they need to have chromium. That's the major mineral with your pancreas. You need to and for help with diabetes. So look for those mineral ideas related to the problem. Also look for something that's helping to regulate blood sugar levels, reduce blood sugar, increase the energy throughout the day, decrease uncomfortable bloating, and reduce headaches. Those are some possibilities. So I don't take any, I don't stock any in my office. So I'm not where I could definitely tell you the super one to take. And it's going to be different for each person. And so I have shown you about muscle testing. If you can do that and you can pick out a blood sugar supplement, that is great. Maybe you're just going to have to, go to a natural health food store and make your selection just from what's there. But if you can muscle test, it's a little bit better. But it's not going to hurt anybody to take a blood glucose supplement, because our lifestyle puts us in a precarious situation. And so many of us behind the scenes may have pre-diabetic situations and we don't even realize it. So that's a great one. Now, I tried to see if I could come up with a couple of ideas, and I did give the area that I got these from, but there's lots of natural and herbal remedies also. And so we could be working with cayenne pepper, bilberry, bitter melon, fenugreek, ginkgo biloba, gymnea, cinnamon. I think that's one of us that's been advertised enough that most of us recognize cinnamon, green tea, ginseng. So if you're an herbal person, there's so much that you can do, or you could look for these ideas inside a natural supplement, if that is an easy way to do that for you. But do look for something and be protecting yourself because of this major problem to our health. Remember, it's the number 7 killer. And in between time, it's a very slow acting problematic problem. And, we don't heal, we lose our toes, things get amputated, we lose our eyesight. How much more do I need to say the importance of taking care of your body, your pancreas, your liver, and all of those organ systems? Work through your teeth. Here's a couple more ideas, just a chart on diabetes superfoods, mostly lots of salad things. So make sure that you're eating the best that you can to prevent this. And I know that's pretty hard to do. So this kind of gave me a jolt too, because I actually had a couple of those symptoms that I showed on the very first slide. So that's got me to working and thinking also. So make sure you are active on that. Now, last couple things, ideas for protection. I've already mentioned you can do the detox, the whole folder, go from start to finish. I think I'm up to 22, 25 different ideas on the detox folder. And then again, if you feel anything on one of those ideas, press your watch for 1 second to see what is playing, and then isolate that and play it for a longer period of time. I have mentioned the germs already, that bacteria, parasites, viruses are definitely connected with pancreatitis, which puts us in a very hard position when our pancreas becomes inflamed. So you could play through those once in a while. And then the big one is emotions. So anxiety and stress. And don't forget that I have over 85 different emotions. There are very hard to hear most of the emotional ones. The Bach remedies and the chakras are just one frequency, so they're very hard to hear, but your body feels them because people are just going bonkers very quickly with how their emotions can change with a sound that you can't even hear it, basically, hardly can hear it, and yet it is being absorbed through your body and changing that particular emotion. I do know that it definitely works, and people are giving different testimonies, especially on the anxiety. So if you have any testimonies, feel free to share them with me and with everybody in a few minutes, or email them to me, make a little video, whatever kinds of things that you would like to do. I am just closing up on this idea so that we can open up and visit back and forth. The last major announcement I have is that I just work with Michelle Moore, who has her own show, and she is on PPN, Patriot Party News, and I will be working with her next Wednesday and having an interview. So if anybody'd like to catch on to that show, that would be great. And I will also be back on Truth Seekers 88 within a week or so. So there's some other places that you can hear some information about the WAVwatch if you're interested. And then don't forget that the WAVwatch Frequency Fanatics on Facebook has over 50 different programs that you can read up on or share with others. Hope I'm not too boring. I'm just a teacher and I continue to teach. I'm not just sitting there and talking for an hour unless it has something, hopefully, maybe I stray a little bit, but hopefully we're getting some good information out. So anyway, I'm opening this up, and if anybody would like to add some ideas, now's the time to do it.
Linda?
Yes.
Pam in the chat asked about how to add the frequencies. That was in the chat, if you look at that.
Just now seeing it. How do you add the new frequencies you've mentioned? So we're working on just updating the TF card, and then you would be able to order a new TF card and just put that in. So in the works is moving up to 1,000 frequencies. It isn't done yet, but that would be something that you could do once we get it all working. And that was the plan from the start. Just not sure how smooth it is when you do new things. So, yes.
Hey, Linda, it's Shafia again.
Yes.
And I just want to thank you for all the work you put into these lectures and just going through the medical details. You put a lot of work into these lectures. And
Oh, thank you.
some doctors will tell you that, well, diabetes is kind of a one-way street. And once type 1 diabetes has started, it's just going to keep getting worse. And I just want to say that in my own experience, 25 years ago, I was working with the predecessor to your BioMeridian, and I was working with a woman who was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when she was 1 year old, and she was now in her early 60s and needed 50 units of insulin a day. And we used homeopathy, drainage homeopathy, and very intense psychotherapy work to clear emotional blockages. And her insulin needs went down to 15 units a day. And as far as type 2 diabetes, and as you said, so many people don't even know they have it. I once had a client who was suicidal, and the police had to take her to the emergency room because she was refusing help. But once she got there, her blood sugar was over 300. And we couldn't even get her to a psychiatric hospital until they stabilized her blood sugar. And once her blood sugar was stabilized, she goes, well, I don't know why I was suicidal. That doesn't make any sense to me. So
my.
how the importance of all these different pathways that you're talking about and going back and forth and
They're
just
working together.
yeah, and they all work together. And last night, just one more thing I want to add is I was listening to a lecture on osteoporosis. And one of the big things that this expert was talking about is how inflammation is a huge piece of osteoporosis. And so how you have set it up that one program for inflammation is one of the first things to work with and to do, because that's going to help such a wide variety of things so my last comment is our question, how is going to Facebook the only way to get these lectures to share with other people, the library you have?
At this point in time, it is, but I am having them transferred to Rumble, and some people won't use Rumble either, so you never know. But, and then also to YouTube, but, having that done right now. So hopefully it will be, within 2 weeks or so that they would be available on a couple of different channels.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thanks, Sophia. That was amazing. I love your testimonies. They are heartfelt and so encouraging coming from an MD. Thank you.
Linda, I have a quick question. I have to take off, but I accidentally dropped my watch, of course, on a tile floor. So I cracked the
Okay.
face. The watch still works, but is there a replacement for the face?
Yes, we do have. I've had to
Oh,
kind of
yay.
learn. This has been, my watches have been going for about 2 years now. So we're starting to have some, droppages and things like that. And if you have the warranty, it's just replaced. If you don't have the warranty, I do have where you can, an address where you can send to somebody who will replace the face.
If I have the
also
warranty, what
replace
do
the
I do?
batteries. Just let me know so we could just
Okay.
get that taken care of.
All right, Linda, thank you.
And Vicky just happens to live about 8 miles from me or something, so we can get that done easy. But if you don't live 8 miles from me, then you're going to have to mail it in. Give me a call. My number is on the back of the book. It will come through to me. And there's also an email, info@wavwatch.com. And you can email me and we'll get your address and get things updated as we need to. But do encourage people to get those warranties if they can, because things happen, don't they, Vicky?
They sure do. Thank you for all your
Uh-huh.
work.
Linda,
Yes.
this is Libby. I was just going to tell you that I had a wonderful testimony from a client of mine whose mom was in a nursing home, and she had developed diabetic toe ulcers, and she found out that her mom was being, having elder abuse in this nursing home. And so she was trying to take her mom out of the nursing home, and you could tell that they did not want her to leave. And they told her because her diabetic ulcers on her toes were oozing and just awful to manage, and bandaging them was going to be a chore, and she would have to do it daily, and on and on and on. And their mentioning of all of this was to tell her she shouldn't take her out of the nursing home. But she took her home anyway. And the interesting thing is that she played the diabetic frequencies, and those diabetic ulcers on her toes healed up very, very quickly. And they had told her that they would never heal. That's what the nurses told her, that they would never heal. She'd have to deal with that the rest of her life. And the frequencies healed those diabetic toe ulcers very quickly. So
I was thinking I had heard that testimony, but I couldn't recall it like you could. So I'm so glad you gave that. And I don't know if we have that written down anywhere for people so that I could post that. But doesn't it just make you cry that we have been told, in the 1920s, 1930s, that frequencies were quote unquote evil, they weren't good. And then our whole society was turned towards prescriptions that have some side effects and cause some of these things, so it goes on and on. A lot of times, if you're taking high blood pressure medication, it causes the diabetes. It's just a vicious circle with some of that. So again, hopefully we're all kind of learning to go back and learn that there are some things, many, many things that frequencies can do, and testimonies like the one that Libby just gave. Thank you. Thank you. Great one.
Linda, I
And-
put a note in the chat. Can you explain muscle testing?
I can just very quickly, I do have an hour-long program on it, but there, is just a very quick way sometimes that you can do kinesiology. That's another word. You can look it up, kinesiology or muscle testing. But just here's one it's called ring to ring. I'm trying to figure out how you could see it here. But you can put your fingers inside each other, ring to ring. Can you see that, Carolyn? Okay.
Yes.
And then you can make a true statement and your body knows, and it will support that. You won't be able to pull your fingers apart. So if I say, my name is Linda, and I try to pull that apart, it's very, very strong. See, my name is Linda. We can't pull it apart. Now, if I say a falsehood, if I say something that's not correct, if I say my name is Sue, my name is Sue, my name is Sue, my name is Linda, there is a huge difference in how my bodies react. So behind the scenes, the muscles are feeling and reacting. And a couple of people call this quantum physics. This is just one simple way that I could show you very, very quickly. So then you can fold this over to testing for different supplements. So you can say, does my body need supplement 1? You know, does my body need supplement 2? And you might get a strong one. So you could actually be holding the supplement, or you could be saying the name, you know, so I could say, you know, does my body like this water? Now, this is a real test. So this is good water, you know. Does my body like this salt? You know, you can hold it underneath like this. But if it slips out, that's a no. And you would not use that particular product.
No.
Now, this is really important. And in my office, I have a little tiny bottle of CBD oil. And of course, if you would go into a CBD business, I'm not being negative or anything, but you know, anybody that's trying to sell something is going to work with some of the more expensive products. And so they would be saying, hey, you need this one. This is our strongest one, blah, blah, blah. Well, you can just hold that product and say, does my body need this particular oil? No. Does it need this one? Yes. So you could sort and sift through. And my little tiny bottle in the office is $150. And not very many people test for that one. Their bodies do not like it. So they've saved the time to take it. They've also saved the money and, you know, that kind of thing. So you can narrow down what your body needs or doesn't need by muscle testing or kinesiology. That's a
Linda,
really quick preview.
if
Yes.
this is Shafia again, if I could add, again, like 30 years ago, I was working with Vivian Rice, a really amazing nutritionist, and we did a whole day seminar on muscle testing with my clients. And she phrased the question, like when we were looking for food sensitivities, not can I eat this? Does my body like it? But can my body metabolize this without negative side effects? And so I think that would also apply to nutritional supplements. Can my body utilize this, fill in the blank, without negative side effects? Because as I am studying genetic SNPs and things that can go wrong, it may be, oh, I have the MTHFR gene SNP and I need folic acid or folate. And because of other gene SNPs, it's not going to be helpful to you. So when you phrase it, can I metabolize this without negative side effects, gives your body more specific way to answer you and help you, guide you through a maze of possibilities.
And that's what usually happens, is that people start with the simplicity of, does my body like this, you know, and then they see that it does work, and then they get deeper and deeper. Yes. And I love that, the way you phrase that. And so some people can also say, do I need 1 pill? Do I need 2 pills? You know, so as people learn it, they definitely dig deeper and phrase it more constructively for their bodies. Yes. So I just gave a really simplistic idea, and I love the way you added that in. Our bodies listen.
I was going to say, I will tell one story on Linda. We were shopping together. She had forgotten her shampoo. We were on a trip So she's in the store and she's muscle testing the shampoos to see which shampoo that would be better for her. So it's not just supplements, it's anything that she would
Well, I
want
can't
to
read the
do.
labels on the shampoos anyway, so my body.
Exactly.
tell me.
So she muscle tested and found the shampoo that would work best for her body.
Perfect. And just one more silly story. I was on a cruise once and somebody challenged me to pick out the real diamonds from fake diamonds in the store. And so they whispered to the owner and they brought out a group of diamonds and I muscle tested them and I was able to figure out just by muscle testing which diamonds were real and which were false. You never know what you can use muscle testing for.
So this is Joan. I have a question. This works for like the doctors when they put you on statins and you don't want to be on statins?
Yes. So basically you can test your prescriptions. You can just say, is this, dig a little bit deeper or just go simplistic if you're new to muscle testing. Is this good for my body? Yes or no,
And the
And
word
if you-
metabolize and the
Yes.
word metabolize is another key.
Yes. If you can think of all those words, will my body
Yeah.
metabolize this to its best use?
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yep. So I encourage people to go through their prescriptions, go through your supplements, put your hand on a loaf of bread, and you can tell if you're allergic to gluten, basically, if your body says, no, you shouldn't be eating that bread. There's something in there. And, normally it's going to be gluten, but you can test foods of all kinds.
Yeah. Linda, I
Yes.
would like to share something with you and help me out if you can, how to improve it. My philosophy, even being an engineer, I believe in chakras. And what I did was, that was the first thing I started out with, is your chakra. Once you balance out all your chakras, then you are becomes more normal in terms of all the diseases. The second thing is the men's hormone. If you can balance that out, that would deplete a lot of other symptoms before you get into it. Am I correct or am I imagining?
You are right on. I love it. Yeah. And I've had a whole little program on chakras. I'm not an expert on that, but they are amazing. That's why they're in there. Now sadly, I've had a couple.
The whole
Go ahead.
opened up.
Say that again.
I can feel that the whole sky opened up and all kinds of messages started coming in that I could hear them rather than being distracted by stress or too much thoughts. And, even though I try to meditate for years, it's really hard. But this, I think once you open up the chakras, everything just kind of come naturally to you. Am I imagining?
I love that. That is great. And several people really did comment on the chakras, that they could definitely feel.
And it worked fast, maybe about a week.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Okay.
everybody try that out.
Perfect. Thank you so much for jogging our memory on the chakras.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Linda, one question on the statins. My doctor obviously insists that I take a statin and my cholesterol without it is over 300. And I really want to get off of it. He makes me worried about getting off of it, but I don't know what I've been running the detox on the organs on the watch. Is there something you would recommend that I do? I'd like to just stop taking it, but I'm not sure what I should do.
That's a very hard one. And I'm not a medical doctor, to get myself in trouble, but you can do that muscle testing on the medicine that he's giving you. You can do as much reading as you can. I would also suggest that you play the liver folder quite a bit because the liver makes cholesterol, and that's where your problem begins, is something is not quite there, right there and needs to be balanced out. Now, you are already aware, of the cholesterol problem, and I'm not sure how many people are aware that our brain is 60% cholesterol. So when they give us prescriptions that mess with our brain, we now have a 62% increase in Alzheimer's and dementia and things like that. And my own mother is one of those. She took a statin without anybody in the family knowing it. And she's having a lot of trouble now, and she's in memory care. So she's one of those stats. And so all of us that are paying attention don't want to take that particular idea, necessarily a statin, because it can be so hard on our brain. And look at Dr. Mercola. He's one of the main ones that told us years ago that these statins are bothering our brain. And he may have some more information, and he's a medical doctor. He might be able to tell you what you could do. But the medical community had us labeled at 240. We could have up to 240 cholesterol and things for years and years. And then without any studies, without any backup, the prescriptions were just changed to your cholesterol has to be under 200. And there was no backup on that. There was no testing, So that's a very hard one to know. So do a little bit more research on that. Maybe find a holistic doctor in your area that would help you get off of that and see if you could work with that. I don't know if
Linda,
that's enough information. And yes,
if I could jump in again,
that's what I was about to say.
Carolyn, do your own research, because the research is out there. It's double-blind studies showing that berberine, which is a supplement, is as good as statin drugs in lowering and managing cholesterol without all the side effects. In fact, berberine is also good for balancing blood sugar, type 2 diabetes, and it's also good for helping balance the gut microbiome. So look into berberine, berberine. My favorite is from True Botanica, but maybe I shouldn't, but that's another story. There are many sources. Look for a company that has high quality standards, and that's the important thing to do.
Okay, thank you. God bless you.
We're doing that work. Yeah, see, that's why we're here together,
Oh my goodness, thank you. I will get off of that today.
The other thing I would mention,
slowly. No, you can't do that. You got to work off of it really, really slowly.
Really?
Don't just, don't cold turkey it.
And do your own research, find the research. It is out there. You're going to have to dig, but find the research.
I did. And I found that even the guy who found or invented statin really didn't have any good, realistic test results. I read all that, and it's just all bad news. So yeah, I think my doctor just scared me, and I should know better than this. Now I've got to figure out how to wean myself off of it, simply because, maybe cut a pill up and take a week to get off of it or something.
Well, you might want to take more than a week, and you might want to find a more holistic doctor who can help you make that transition, and also not scare you into pharmaceuticals, but scare you into a healthy lifestyle so that you do more research on what do I need to eat? How do I need to live? How do I need to exercise? What do I need to change in my lifestyle? That's rather than a pill for an ill.
Right.
and Carolyn, I just
Yes.
want to mention that Dr. Mercola also has some really good articles on this, but his recommendation is lumbrokinase, which is an enzyme, a supplement. And with that, you can go, he has a lot of articles on Substack, but if you go into his store, mercola.com, and go into the store and put in lumbrokinase, he talks about that. When you open it up, it has a thing that says see more, and you can read an article about why it's beneficial. But you can also run arterial sclerosis and atherosclerosis frequencies Those are also helpful because they're worried about heart and blockages. And the lumbrokinase is helpful for like blood clots and things like that. So those two things are usually very helpful, along with the berberine. So just kind of check that out, do your own research.
Okay, thank you so much.
We can't emphasize your own research enough, can we? So that's very important. Very, very important.
Thank
Because
you.
you're the final person making that decision. So great. Wow, I love all the testimonies. I love the input. And then Libby, you just jogged my memory. My own husband a couple of weeks ago was having some shortness of breath and he couldn't do anything. You know, he was starting to worry. He'd had stents put in about 10 years ago. And so he was having some problems. And he played those two frequencies you just mentioned in the heart folder. And he could feel drainage and stuff clearing out here and just feeling all this stuff going on here. So he swears that the WAVwatch helped him with that particular idea. And he said in just a few days, he could run up down the stairs and his shortness of breath was gone. So you never know how simple something can be if you start working with it and pay attention to the WAVwatch sometimes. Is there any other questions? I don't want to hold anybody too long, but wow, we've learned a lot of great things, haven't we, as a group? All right, we'll
Yeah,
sign
Linda,
off.
Linda,
Yes, yes.
this is Phil. Did
Oh,
the
hi, Phil.
WAVwatchers come in?
They're in the States and they're held up just a day or two with some kind of customs clearance, but they are basically here. So I will put them on the internet, available anytime.
Okay, I think Linda had a question. Oh, that was it.
Oh, do you have the complex in stock? A good big complex?
I do not. No.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
All right.
thanks. Thanks for all your effort.
Thank you. Anything else?
Love it.
All right. Next
Hey,
week, I'll
Linda?
be back on. Yes.
Someone asked if they will see the chat information on the Facebook recordings. If you record them, I'm not sure if they can see the Facebook chats, but if you click over there onto your recording, on your chat, there's 3 little dots towards the bottom. And if you click or you just click it open, it gives you the opportunity to copy it. And you can copy and paste it if you want to keep something off of the chat.
Perfect. All right. Thanks. Thanks so much. I didn't quite hear all of that. Another noise came up, but thank you for sharing that information, Libby. Okay. See you next week, hopefully, or send somebody else if they're interested. Bye-bye.
Thank you.